Hi, I'm Marjorie Gbenro. I am a coach, author, and non-executive director. I hope you enjoy listening to these podcasts, and I encourage you to follow the InsurTech Business Series for very interesting and up-to-date industry information.
Welcome to the InsurTech Business Series podcast. I am Fudumi.
And I am Damola. And together, we host the most exciting podcast on insurance and InsurTech related topics in Africa. Stay tuned.
Gbenro, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Damola. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. How has it been, building Octamile? I know we're going into a lot of details around what you're doing there, but, generally, how has it been?
Exciting. Precisely what I'd love to be doing right now. So
Awesome.
Just excited to be building.
Okay. I mean, for us, we usually start off with getting to know our guests. So maybe can you tell us a bit about yourself, your background?
Yeah. I think I have spent the last 10 years building tech businesses, from e-commerce to online marketplace and insurance technology-enabled businesses. But originally, I have a background in finance. Although I studied insurance in university, my first degree was in insurance. So I would say I'm an insider, outsider. I studied insurance, but never really worked in any insurance organization. So after studying insurance, I worked a bit in finance, in investment research, precisely. Worked in the private equity space, and I think that's when I realized that I was more of an operator as opposed to being an analyst, someone who was crunching numbers with Excel spreadsheets. Even though I love numbers, I can tell stories out of numbers, but I realized that wasn't really where my passion was. I was very envious of the other people who were working in the field and actually going to build these businesses, work with the portfolio companies. So I realized I was more called for actually being an operator. I had the opportunity to go back to school after my first degree. I got an MBA from Lagos Business School. And I think that was where I got the opportunity to work with Jumia when it was about to launch in Nigeria. So I was one of the very first local recruits out of business school to help build Jumia, even if it was called Jumia. It was just called a random name that nobody knew about then. And yeah, so that was my foray into tech. And since then, it's just been trying to make value out of technology-enabled businesses over the last decade.
Having to, gone through that journey, instead of, at the end of the day, shaping us. But did fintech not at any point interest you? I mean, judging by the fact that, you're in the other financial sector, why did you choose insurance? I mean, InsurTech, actually.
The way I see InsurTech is definitely a subset of fintech. So if you look at the overall financial services space, insurance is a financial service. So specifically, yes, looking at InsurTech as a niche, but I see it as still a financial services that needs to be figured out how it will be scaled in the life of Africans. But also I've worked with a couple of fintechs over the last year. So I worked with Opera Software, and I was part of the team that helped launch a lot of the all fintech products. So got a decent experience and exposure to the fintech space. But genuinely, what drives me to the insurance space, the opportunity I see in terms of under penetration and lack of expertise as well to actually innovate in that space.
Quite interesting what you said there, coming to the insurtech space. Looking at the space generally, being one of the very first people actually doing insurtech at the large scale with Octamile. We'll go into a bit about Octamile later on, but looking at the space, what are those things that you're seeing within the space that new players or, people who are viewing the space from outside, what should they be taking cognizance of within the Nigerian space, specifically where you are currently playing? What's your perspective about the insurtech space? Generally, we know it's growing, right? But then being one of the leaders, first people through that gate, what are you seeing?
Yeah. So, it's exciting to see that the insurance underwriters themselves are increasingly interested in adopting new technologies. Maybe it wasn't exactly the same 5 years ago. So I was part of the first wave of insurtech many years when I co-founded an online car comparison platform. And the difference is worlds apart when we were setting that up. And, now in terms of the conversations, now insurers, some insurers have APIs. 5 years ago, no insurer in Nigeria had any APIs to share with you. Guys would have had to build a custom thing for you for any API enabled thing. So I think it's exciting to see that the providers themselves are increasingly seeing the value in leveraging on technology to drive distribution, drive adoption, drive an improved customer experience. So I think even people who want to innovate in the space, I think it's something to take advantage of in terms of trying to help the insurers more.
But quite interesting times generally within this space, yes, just like you said. And a lot of people are talking about what exactly can work within this space. The elephant in the room is under penetration, low level of penetration, right? Yes, the insurers are getting to grasp technology and more open to some of these ideas, but what models can work? What ways can we get more people insured, get people to enjoy insurance more? And the whole idea around embedded insurance, right, is something that has been floated around and has been brought to the fore even as a result of COVID. When you hear embedded insurance, what comes to your mind? And is that something that you think that can get us to where we are going, or be an enabler to where we are going, where we want to be in Nigeria?
So it's quite interesting that everyone seems to be throwing around the word embedded insurance, but also it speaks to the trend in recent times of even embedded finance, and so it's insurance providers or insurance players trying to leverage on new trends. However, I think a lot of people just look at it at the surface and still don't really understand the nitty-gritty about embedded insurance. And for us, I'm talking a bit about Octamile. That's where we kind of like see us adding value to the ecosystem, because we're a mix of insurance professionals and technology professionals. So we have a clear sight of, where a lot of other people have blind spots of how to innovate and where to innovate. And so we're able to use our unique positioning and unique experience here. So
that's quite interesting. And now that you did mention Octamile, maybe you could tell us a bit more about what you do at Octamile. What is Octamile? What are you trying to build? What are you trying to solve?
Yeah, so Octamile essentially is we see ourselves on a mission to simplify access to insurance across Africa, starting from Nigeria. Nigeria is our launch country. Nigeria also is one of the largest opportunities in the African space, so it makes sense to start from Nigeria, which has significantly low insurance penetration at the moment. So we launched with Nigeria with a mission of working with the entire ecosystem to simplify access to insurance. So we're big on partnerships, big on working with everyone within the ecosystem. So, for example, in each insurance vertical or each insurance product, we want to collaborate with everybody within the ecosystem, everybody within that value chain or insurance product experience, such that we can integrate everybody more closely and provide a much better, unique experience for end users. But essentially, everybody has pain points. Partners have pain points. So we sit with everybody and say, hey, where are the pain points? How do we leverage on our APIs, which are highly customizable to suit the needs of our partners?
We would like to understand your model.
Hey, this is Brian Falchuk from Boston, Massachusetts in the United States of America. I want to give a shout out to the InsurTech Business Series, Falumi and Damala. What you are doing to help move the industry forward in the African continent, but also more broadly for the industry at large, is so incredibly important. As I think about the future of our industry, it's conversations like the ones you're having that will help us move forward. So congratulations on the success of the show. Please keep at it.
So how does Octamile operate? So we've seen other insurtechs in the ecosystem, and you could say, for instance, this particular company probably does recyclables to convert as premium. This person builds API. What model does Octamile operate on?
Yeah, I mean, we're essentially software as a service provider, and for depending on our customer, who the customer is, we work together to provide unique ways to integrate the data and the technology that we have. So it could be APIs, it could be white label software, it could be artificial intelligence, name it, whatever, right? We just enable our partners with our software and our solutions and find the right way for them to, for us to share in the value there.
Okay, I'm still going to press further. When I talked about, other business model, what particular need in that insurance space is Octamile trying to solve? So are you particularly focused on a product or a particular service? What particular need exactly?
Over the years, having built insurance products as well, I realized that a lot of people are innovating just at the top of the problem and not going deep into the roots of the problem. So to be able to even offer a better product, there are a lot of pain points within the entire value chain. So we decided to roll back all the way to the beginning in terms of who's the customer, how do we even currently identify who a customer is, how do we onboard them, if a claims happens, how do we pay out. So we are essentially that tech partner who is helping to reimagine the entire concept of insurance for insurance companies and also non-insurance providers who have a large customer base and want to add insurance as a new product on their platform. We are that ecosystem partner who's leveraging that insurance experience and technology experience to provide this new kind of service.
That's clear, right? And I mean, it definitely means that you work with. So you kind of like. the man in the middle. You're working with insurers, right? And then also helping the insurers to connect with platforms, third-party platforms who want to embed insurance on their platforms, they want to sell insurance, they want to use insurance, to reward their customers and the likes. So in terms of partnerships, I know that you did announce a partnership with Drive Me.
Yes.
For those kind of partnerships, right? So maybe if you can speak specifically to this partnership, but then generally as well about how you approach, this kind of partnerships with third-party platforms. Yes, you're not an insurer, you work with insurers, right? But then in engaging those platforms who are going to use these services, right? Consuming your own APIs, what's the approach that Octamile takes?
Absolutely. So I think one of the key theme of our product is it's highly customizable for different partners across a wide range of industries. So we see ourselves not as an API provider, more of as a solution provider. So we have more of a consulting engagement process where we sit with our partners to really understand where their pain points, and we're like that doctor who's also working with you based on our knowledge, our unique knowledge of insurance and technology, to recommend a custom program. So we're not just taking off the shelf stuff to build, because we realize that each customer, each partner has very unique needs, and our ability to remain flexible and meet these unique needs specifically is what we always try to achieve on every engagement. So Drive Me, for example, we are working with Drive Me across every area of their business, from driver management to fleet management, to be able to provide a very seamless experience, an in-house insurance program, leveraging on our own technology stack, and with little or no effort, they're able to offer this new value to their drivers, their partners, everyone within their own ecosystem. The overall theme for us is that we are working with our partners to build custom solutions that meet their specific needs.
Great. So I hear you, and I can tell from most of these things that you do that you are passionate about what you're doing, right? So how exactly did you arrive at this point where you decided Octamile is the answer and you would like to build it?
Very interesting question. I think Octamile is as a result of my many thoughts and many experiments and many learnings, engaging over the years with insurance consumers and insurance providers. The insurance industry in Africa is last I checked, about $60 billion per annum premium industry. And in Nigeria alone is more than $1 billion in premiums per annum. It's a huge opportunity that, if you look at the penetration levels currently, less than 2%, huge room for growth. And within the context of our economy, where a lot of people are open to financial shocks of every form, I think it's only about a matter of time and the right approach to innovate in this space. So we are trying to, along the line, just make sure that we deliver that kind of value. However, for me, it was, what is the big problems in the industry that need to be solved? And when I was leading a couple of online marketplaces, I also saw the problems that insurance providers faced. So I led an online marketplace for cars for many years, for example, and we engaged with the insurers a lot as a potential distribution partner. So many engagements there in terms of their needs and the problems that need to be solved. Coupled with my own experience over the years, my original background in insurance, I just felt this kind of seems to be a sweet spot and a recurring theme in my entire career. So I just find myself always coming back to insurance. So if you ask me, what would I do for the next 10 years? If there are top 2-3 things, insurance definitely is one of them. And, just trying to figure out what the best areas to focus on. I think insurance is a great opportunity, and that's why I'm doing this right now.
Wow, that's quite interesting. And we're definitely rooting for Octamile, and perhaps within that 10 years, Octamile will be one of the unicorns, insurtech unicorns out of Africa.
I say big amen to that, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and that's why I'm fully aware that it's a long-term play here. Mm-hmm. We're trying to genuinely build businesses that create value for both the insurance providers and the consumers themselves.
Yeah. And the key thing there, like you said, it's a long-term play. A lot of people come into this space, I guess they don't understand this, because insurance is not bills payment, it's not lending. It's a different service, right? And the reasons why it's the way it is, because you are providing a promise today, because you're saying by the time something happens in the next 2 weeks, I will be there. If you compare what I'm going to pay you in 2 weeks compared to what you paid as premium today, it's insignificant, right? So it's key. And perhaps maybe can you talk a bit around this understanding, right? And you talking from a point of, okay, this is how you should approach it. I'm saying this because there are a lot of people, again, that will be listening to this that are trying to get into the space. They are building for the space. The Gbenro Lab Accelerator Program, at least 10 startups are in that program. Many of these guys are not insurance natives like you. What kind of mindset should they be having about engaging the space? I mean, one of them definitely has to be understand that it's a long-term play, right? But then from your background, from what you have learned so far, engaging with insurers and all the stakeholders within the space, what's the mindset that they should be having when building a solution for insurance in Nigeria and even in Africa?
One of the things that you sort of touched on briefly is the fact that they need to actually learn more about the core business of insurance. I think that's the role of projects like the Gbenro Lab, where they are able to learn more about the insurance product and engage with the insurance providers themselves. But I think generally, beyond just plugging in technology into the whole insurance equation, I think a lot of people who want to innovate need to spend time to grasp the core insurance business itself. That would be one key advice on my end. And also, as always, when you're building, which is always a generic startup advice I give, is push your product out. Don't waste time trying to fundraise, but actually build something and let users start to give you feedback.
So at what points would you then advise these people to go ahead initiating fundraising exercises? Or, I mean, you've just recently gotten, funds, investment actually. And so what would you advise in that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty fortunate to have been able to raise a pre-seed round, and which I think is, a mix of, speaks to the work we had already done ahead, even before we began speaking with investors. I think that first of all, fundraising is a lot of work, and don't look at the announcement. If you look at the announcement, feel a couple of calls or this just happened, this was just announced. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And that could actually even distract one from actually building. But I think at some point you've just got to first of all focus on building something that has a few customers. If you do that, investors will be warmer to your product, and that eventually increases your chances of fundraising. We already had a couple of customers already using our products before we were able to raise our pre-seed round, and we hope that as we scale that we are able to always find the right kind of partners who we meet their threshold of risk at every point in time. So we were fortunate to have a mix of investors who were engaged over the years, while I was building various things, and who knew that we had put together a team that had a reputation to deliver, and on top of that had actually bootstrapped a solid product with zero funding. So I think every product can be bootstrapped with to at least a minimum viable product. If you can't build your product yourself, look for a co-founder who might be able to help you build that technology in-house, or at least reduce the cost of you building. I think that there's a time for everything in the life cycle of a business. There's a time to really focus on building and testing and showing early traction, and there's the time to focus on trying to get investors. For us right now, we're at the stage of somewhat in between both. We are still very early in our life cycle, and we're super always excited to speak with investors who specifically understand the insurance space, who can add value beyond that check that they give. So for us, it's always a bit of a harder task, because we are genuinely trying to filter for long-term partners who really understand what we are building.
And that's key. And I mean, it's quite interesting to see that the appetite of investors are changing towards insurtech. I mean, that's needed, and I'm sure that will definitely grow with the number of insurtechs that are entering into this space, people building for this space. So yeah, I mean, we believe here at IBS that insurtech is the next frontier for fintech in Africa. So for Octamile, what's the ambition? What's next? What are we hearing from you next? Ghana, Kenya, South Africa?
I think that our focus still is the last you've heard from us, in terms of just trying to build out our current products and partnerships and add more value to the ecosystem in Nigeria. Nigeria is a huge opportunity on its own. And there's still a lot of work to be done. It's also harder when there are limited resources. So one has to find a balance in terms of the amount of resources that you can deploy at any given time. So, yeah.
That's awesome to hear. We're looking at, getting something around expansion.
I think in terms of expansion, like I said, Nigeria is a huge opportunity. So really focusing on 36 states of Nigeria alone is a lot of work. So we want to try and just build out for Nigeria.
Okay, that's really a good one, because again, we have the numbers, we have the potential. And it's interesting to see that, we're beginning to have good investors, focusing on the Nigerian markets, and that's a good way to go. But in building this, in building Octamile, were there particular challenges that you had to face? I mean, in terms of regulatory approval or the reception generally from the insurance space? I mean, in terms of partnership with insurance incumbents and, other types of partnership?
Well, I think that, like I said, a lot of things are getting better now. and even partners and regulators get the whole innovation gist better right now. So it's easier to find partners that understand what you're doing. As long as you're playing within as long as you understand the regulatory framework, and just find where to play within this framework, there shouldn't be any issues. And so that's our own approach, that, since we're not an insurance provider, we're essentially enabling partners. We have insurance provider partners, we have broker partners, and we're enabling these people with that technology. So it's pretty much straightforward there.
Awesome. It's been quite interesting. Thank you very, very much for your time. It's been super interesting speaking with you, learning about what you're doing, and just hearing about how much passion you have for this space. And we need a lot more people who are passionate about this space and are here for the long haul, who want to innovate for this space. So thank you. We're rooting for you, and it's a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, Damola and Folumi, for having me. It was really nice chatting with you.
Hi, and I hope you did enjoy that conversation. Quite interesting one. Do ensure that you continue to listen to our podcast and share as well with your colleagues and friends future episodes and even previous ones on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, on every platform that you get your podcasts.
Right, and also don't forget to join the conversation on all of our social media platforms. We might have comments, reviews, as well as questions. Please do share on our LinkedIn page, on our Twitter page, as well as remember to follow us.